Hey, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here.
Jocelyn here. Hello.
Perfect.
Is he crying
Perfect.
yet? Is he
Man,
crying yet? Yeah,
I'm on the way.
He is.
I'm on the way. Boy, oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, the extraordinary Jocelyn Gould is here with us today. And thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I've been really excited about this for a long time. So thank you.
So good.
How do we know Jocelyn then? So I first came across you on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we know you via Joey a little bit.
Yes.
Because you come from the same place.
Yeah, we're from the same city. Yes.
Joey Landress, for those of you who don't know. And you're in the UK doing some dates at the moment.
I am. Yes, I played at the London Jazz Festival last night.
Okay.
And tomorrow I'm in Oxford and then headed over to Spain for a couple dates.
Nice. Did you do Pizza Express? Did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was wonderful. It was like I've, known about that venue for so long, so it was so cool to play it.
Oh,
happy days.
Wonderful.
So we've got a lot to talk to you about today. I'm going to try and save Dan from
you're going to try and save you from me just going
into a collapsing mess.
Yeah. You'll have to edit a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of questions that are completely irrelevant to everyone else but me. So there'll be a lot of editing going on.
Before we get into it, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. It helps us. It's free. Just do it. It's good. We like big numbers. And please go to thatpedalshowstore.co.uk and buy stuff. And while you're at it, JocelynGould.com. There we go. Go there and check out offerings therein. Let's get on with it then. For those of you who know about jazz guitar and jazz guitars, apologies in advance. Dan and I are going to ask a lot of very numpty questions today because it is an area that we're not massively au fait with. Well, you more than me, perhaps.
Yeah, I love it. I just want to be able to play it. And it's a very different thing. But yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. Let's go back. So I know that you didn't start playing until like in your 20s or 20.
Yeah.
So how did you end up at 20 going, you know what? I'm going to start crushing jazz guitar.
Well, I was a self-taught guitarist from 13.
Okay.
I started, my older brother showed me how to play power chords one day, and both my parents were hobbyist guitar players when I was little. So we had a couple guitars lying around. Not good ones, but we had a couple. Mm-hmm. And one day, when I was 13 years old, my brother showed me power chords.
Legend.
Life-changing day. Literally, that was the day. I got completely obsessed with learning how to accompany myself. I love singing. I grew up singing. And so I started, I don't know, just got this this obsession, just trying to learn how to play totally on my own, looking up songs on the internet and just trying to, it opened this whole world of me being able to sing and have the chords going underneath. And that to me is partially what's so beautiful about music is the way melodies interact with harmony. And so suddenly I could do that for myself. So I spent about 6 years being completely self-taught. I never even left the house with my instrument. It was kind of like a secret.
Just the thing at home for no one else but you.
For no one else but me. It was
That's fantastic.
And I completely beat up my mom's crappy Yamaha classical nylon string. That's what I learned on. And then I graduated high school, went into chemistry, did a couple years of 3 years of a science degree, and was really unhappy in the library studying all the time. I think science is very cool, but I was really lacking kind of a sense of community. I know there are science communities, I just wasn't in one. And there was a jazz program that had just recently started at the school that I was at in Canada, and a couple of my friends were in it. And I started going to their jam sessions and was just blown away at the community and the improvisatory nature of it, and how you can't You need each other to do this. I mean, this jazz music is about people being in a room together, playing acoustic instruments. It never happens the same way again.
Yeah.
What you get is unique. It's happening that night only, that moment only. And I just 180'd. I was like, hey, I'm buying an electric guitar. I'm quitting school. I'm getting a teacher. I'm going to practice. And I auditioned 9 months later for the jazz program and got accepted.
So you, up to that point, you're playing, sorry, this just blew my mind.
Yeah.
You were playing songs and singing along. You heard jazz and went, that's it. I'm quitting chemistry. And then you learned to play jazz guitar. 9 months later, auditioned for the course and got in.
Yeah. And I was really into blues. I was really into T-Bone Walker, Albert King, B.B. King. And from there, it's not really a big step to Wes Montgomery and Grant Green.
Oh, yeah.
I might respectfully disagree. I've been trying to get my head around that for 25 years.
Oh, me too. Totally. Yeah, there's so much blues in those players. So somebody turned me on to Smoking at the Half Note by Wes.
Yeah.
That iconic record. And it just, for me, I had been listening to so much blues. It just, for my ear, kind of felt like home. Yeah, felt like.
So one of the struggles I've always had with harmony as it gets more complex is I struggle to hear it. I don't have a reference point. I struggle to hear some of the melodic and harmonic relationships. It sounds as if that was something that was kind of immediately talking to you. Can you explain about maybe how that was, or if you were listening to music that would help open it up?
Yeah, yes. So it has been very gradual for me, and there's still a lot that, I mean, I by no means hear, as much as I would like to be able to. So it's been gradual. I was very into blues, got into Wes Montgomery, and then I started listening to bebop, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and that took me such a long time. There was this record by Sonny Stitt called Stitt Plays Bird. And Sonny Stitt plays on that record kind of what I felt was a little bit more accessible for my ear. And so for me it was sort of gradual, moving from player to player.
Just opening up a little bit more with each, okay.
Yeah. And bebop used to sound, when I didn't grow up with it, so to me my ear didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And now it's like a language I completely understand. So it's just through having listened a ton.
How does someone who is au fait with blues changes, right?
Yeah.
Where would the next logical step for them? What would the next step be?
Yes. So blues is, I think, a great place to start. There's always, and just something that I work on in my practice routine is constantly. So the blues changes that we might think of, if we simplify them, would be our 1 chord, our 4 chord, and our 5 chord. So for me, I started just playing, a B-flat blues, the language that I had heard from B.B. King and all these great, all the greats. And then what you can start to do is add a couple 2-5-1s into your blues progression. So rather than just we go B flat, E flat 7 for a bar, B flat 7 for a bar, and then a 2-5-1 to E flat. So just that 2-5-1 opens up a whole new place for any language that you've learned, anything that you've transcribed. So now for me, I can go just these extra chords that I added allowed me to add a 2-5-1 line.
Right.
So you can change blues. There are 100 ways to play blues progression. I apologize if you already know this.
No.
Is this kind of...
No. It's
Okay.
What I love, though, from perspective of somebody with harmonic knowledge, when you start off talking about a 1-4-5,
Yeah.
you immediately play an extended chord.
Totally.
There's no like dominant seventh involved here. It's like we've got some extension going on.
Totally.
Because that's where you are, right?
yeah, it's all the colour and.
These are yes.
But just to add to the story, you currently teach music at a university.
I do.
Right?
I do.
Doing a professorship, so you're like really like up there as far as your understanding and I know that Joey goes to you for some theory lessons and to help understand a few things, and I go to Joey just to be baffled. So it's pretty epic that your knowledge and understanding of harmony and everything.
Thank you.
I think we had a quick chat in the car because you were a scientist, right? In studying chemistry.
Yeah.
And so you're obviously switched on. Surely that helped you to be able to, because there's a big question about, I don't need theory to play.
I'm laughing because Dan's weaving a perfect analogy between chemical formula and musical
Yeah,
theory here,
totally.
which I'm loving. I can see it.
Yeah.
It's the film.
Yeah.
You're going to get Kevin Bacon to play you.
Brilliant. But there's a lot of guys sort of wear it as a badge, saying I can't read music, I just play.
Yeah.
But like when I hear you play, because I've been, watching. Well, I first saw you on Instagram, and so I was like, man, it's, so great. And when I hear you play and players who really understand the stuff, there is no getting around. You really understand the harmony.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's just no. It's like I'm not fluking these notes. You know what's going on there.
Right. Yeah. Yes. If I, and it's funny because I in naturally am a very like not specific person. Like.
Is your kitchen a nightmare?
Yes. Yes. I'm like everything, I'm very messy. I'm not an organized person at all. And so it's been a challenge for me to reconcile. We were talking about this, to reconcile trying to kind of have my brain in two places at once. You have to know what's going on. You have to know the harmony. If I don't, then I'll get lost.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to be, music is supposed to be, it's all about self-expression, the human experience and self-expression. And so I never want to lose that either. And I find if I'm not really thinking about that, I don't play in a way that I want to play.
That almost sounds like a number of ways to explain it, but in simplistic terms, a left-right brain thing, where one has to recall, and I don't know if this is how you do it, but you almost got to learn it well enough so you're not thinking about it in order to be able to express.
Definitely, yeah. Charlie Parker had this famous quote where you practice something for a million hours, you practice it in the practice room, and when you get up on stage, you don't think about it at all. Yeah. You would say, like, then you're not thinking when you're on stage. Then you're in the moment, and you hope that you've done enough in the practice room that you don't have to be thinking. You can just make music.
Let's round out the biographical stuff then. So you start early, and the light went on, and you got a teacher. When was that?
Yeah, so I started studying at 20 years old, and I moved to Michigan in 2016, and that's where I really met my teacher, who introduced me to archtops and who informed basically how I play and taught me everything that I know. His name's Randy Napoleon, and he's kind of, I really credit him basically with how I play the guitar.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Even when you the way I hold it, everything is like he's a master teacher.
Let's have a look at that then.
Yes.
Because one of the things that you were, when we were doing getting the sound together, Jocelyn was picking the notes saying, yeah, I don't know if I like this nail polish for the tone I'm getting. And it's one of those things when you're so intimately aware of your own sound, even something like nail polish will make a difference.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. So I hold my guitar in a very specific way with arch tops. And I don't know if this will come through on the recording, but so check this out. This is holding it kind of against me. Different sound, and that's because the sound can actually bounce. You need the sound to bounce off the back piece of wood. Well. If you're muting it, the sound will get dampened and it can't bounce off. So that's why I hold my guitar like this. And there are other reasons. I, first of all, want to be doing this till I'm 90. And I just, was by 25 years old already getting a sore back. So I have not had back problems since I've been sitting like this. This is also very light guitar, you were holding it, yeah.
And what guitar is it?
This is a Benedetto. This is 16B carved top.
It's the most extraordinary thing. I had to play on it before. It's mind-blowing.
So 16 presumably means 16 inches across the lower back, does it? Do we think that? Michael's here. Old friend Michael's here. Michael Watts. Okay, so 16 means 16 inches. That's how big the lower bout is. What is that? 2 3/4 deep or something?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll put the numbers on the screen, but these are all key things because it's hugely important.
Flamed
thinner
maple than your average. Yeah.
Back and sides, which is really beautiful.
Back and
We'll do
sides.
some close-ups after.
Spruce
And a
top.
carved spruce top.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ebony, everything else.
It's astonishing.
I was saying to Jocelyn over lunch, Dan and I are au fait with electric guitars and regular acoustic flat tops, but there's two worlds of guitar that remain largely anathema to both of us. And one is classical guitars and one is proper archtop guitars. Because this is a serious piece of kit, right? These things, I've got to be careful which one I pick up. These things, bits of wood bolted together, aren't they? That, crafted by a master.
Yeah, and Benedetto, they're real. They only make about 100 guitars a year, and they're the premier archtop makers, one of the premier archtop makers. So it's really a ton of craftsmanship that go into these instruments. You can't really pump them out.
No.
Was there a reason you went Benedetto and not, I don't know, some other brand?
Yeah, so my teacher, Randy, was endorsed by Benedetto before me, and I just loved his instrument. And he actually was playing a Bravo Deluxe, so it was not a carved top. But I loved it. I loved how it sounded. And I was living in New York. I moved to New York after I studied in Michigan, and one day got an email from Benedetto saying, just reaching out, wondering if I would be interested in playing.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so I went down there and we hung out, and they're the kindest people on the planet. We played a bunch of guitars. I got to play, just all these incredible instruments. So many of my favorite players play Benedettos. And then I became a player.
I want to have a look at jazz tone. You've seen the difference of, letting the guitar resonate. You were showing me something before that when you pick with the rate going in this direction, and it's like, and you started going this way. So all of these sounds, you're generating, with your fingers and on the guitar. What is it that you're looking for? What's the, like when you came in here and set the amp and everything up? Yeah. What's the goal, tone wise?
Yeah, so I'm obsessed with sound. I am always kind of chasing the unicorn of like the day in my life that I've
Welcome
had.
to that pedal show.
Yeah. the most, I have a sound in my head and I don't achieve it very often. And I'm always just trying to get it. And I think sometimes it's the atmosphere. I mean, these guitars are very influenced by climate, and I travel most of the year.
Right.
So part of it is just like all the elements come together sometimes, and just everything feels right. And I'm always chasing that. So when I'm practicing, when I first pick up my guitar, the first thing I work on is sound. I want to, just try to start my playing, start my practicing, start my gigs, start anytime I'm playing my instrument from a place of like, is my sound the best it can be? Like, am I rooted in my sound? So even just trying to play a slow C major scale for me, or any scale, and have it be even, have the notes be even, and try to get the sound that I'm going for. So I will try that. That to me takes so much control and is actually, amazing. I find really difficult for me to do. And so if I can be getting that sound, then when I go to play, I think just approaching it with that kind of intent and helps me get a better sound out of the instrument.
So it's an evenness in the attack and the decay of the note. It's evenness, the thing that you're looking for, is it?
Yeah, yes. Okay. Evenness and control. And I wanted those notes to be more connected than they were. It was kind of like stop, start, stop, start. Yeah. So a connecting. And then with my right hand, I play what's called hybrid picking. So is where you play with a pick and your fingers. And classical guitarists don't use their pinky. I do. And that's something that is a big struggle for me, because melody will be at the top of your voicing. And just the way humans are designed, I'm playing the melody with my weakest finger. And that sucks. So I really have to work extra on like my control just with my weaker fingers too. So the idea for me is not to be plucking the strings. I'm not trying to like.
Jocelyn's been very disciplined, not only about her C major scale, but also not talking over the trails.
Something I haven't managed to master in 7 years, so you're fine.
You're right, it's very hard.
Yeah, it's a third thing to think about, isn't it? I can tell that something that comes so naturally to you, which is playing the guitar, trying to explain it is quite difficult, isn't it, when you start to deconstruct it?
There's so much that goes into just playing a simple scale like that, and we think, well, I know to pick that note and I know to pick those fingers. Actually, when you're approaching it like that and you're trying to make it even, sustained, and so the notes blend into each other, it's like a real discipline to do that.
It's so hard. It's so hard to attack each string evenly. It's very, very hard to play slowly
Yeah, wow.
That's something I'm always kind of thinking of. Trying to get good sounds out of the strings. I think of it as sort of waving to a baby. Like, that's the motion. It's an even motion. It's not like a plucking motion. You're just moving your fingers through the strings. And you want some some flesh and a little bit of nail too. That's the sound that I'm going for is both. So I don't keep that long of nails. And I'm so weird. I just get obsessed with like, can I make this good? Angle of the pick is also huge for me. So check this out. This is just pick kind of flat on, perpendicular to the strings. And this is the side of the pick. Isn't that wild? Isn't that incredible? And so George Benson, I've copied his right hand. He picks with the side of his pick like that and uses kind of an attack kind of from underneath as opposed to on top.
So you're angling up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. This can be hard for some people if they don't have really bendy thumbs. I have, run into people who can't really do it because their thumbs just don't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. No joy for me.
Yeah, I have this weird like sideways thumb that comes in very handy for me. So just the flat versus so different.
Amazing.
Reminds me of a conversation we had with Tim Lurch, who was saying something very similar and demonstrating something very similar. And again, this is that pedal show. Normally there'd be 58,000 pedals on the table there, and there are around us 2 amps, wet, dry, and all that, which is where we think tone comes from. So much of it is just right there, straight out of the gate, isn't it?
That's what I'm finding, and I can't even imagine myself having, I'm just so torn up even just over this. I can't imagine taking anything else on, this is already too much for me. Yeah, and just because these are hybrid instruments, these are acoustic and electric at the same time, so sound is generated acoustically and electrically. So for me, I need to really pay attention to how the sound is coming out of the instrument.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that then? So when you're practicing, presumably, are you plugged in when you practice?
I do both.
You do both? Because
both.
Presumably having amplification fundamentally changes the nature of how the thing speaks.
Definitely.
Do you struggle with that at gigs, or are you just so used to it you know what to expect?
I definitely struggle with that. I can't, I don't travel with an amp, so I'm using whatever amps are in venues. Yeah, in this case, very lucky.
Hey, Joey.
Just for context, Joey's about to arrive in the UK, and his amp has been sent here to pick up. So when Jocelyn arrived today, she said, "What amp would you like?" She said, "Oh, any tube amp." We're like, "We've got the tube amp for you." This is the Joey Landrum signature.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, Joey. Yeah. Yes. So I, after sound checks, I'll always just take some time with the amplifier. Also, it's hard to tell from stage what the audience is hearing. A lot of the time I think my sound was really weak, and then, maybe I'll hear a recording and find that the audience's experience was actually different than what I was hearing. So it's, something I'm always struggling with. I feel very fortunate to get to play my instrument, though. I'm not a pianist or a bass player who has to. My partner's a pianist, and he's just whatever they have for him. That's what he has to play.
Yeah, right.
And so at least we get to bring our own instruments.
Perhaps we could put some of that stuff together. You can play a little bit for us.
Yes.
And in that, not that I want you to think too much about it, but some of the dynamic range that you would explore as well, because I find that fascinating, certainly for solo guitar. How quiet is quiet? How loud is loud?
Yes.
What are some of those extremes, perhaps?
Totally. Absolutely.
Wow.
Blimey.
Man alive.
Blimey. I hate to jump in straight with the analysis of it because that was really beautiful, but the lyrical quality of the high strings is astonishing.
They really ring out on this guitar too. They're
But there's a lot of work that you've done to make that ring out.
that is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is true.
So the only question to ask now is what strings are they?
These are
It's obviously about the strings,
didgeridos.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a particular kind of string, flat wounds.
These are flats. Yep, they're 12s. I go back and forth. I just happened to be somewhere and I needed some strings, so this is just what was available. But I do like them, and often I'll put 13s on the high E, even 14s on the high E and B strings.
Legend.
And then
Such a
use-
legend.
Because it's rounder, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get more like it's you need that some beefiness up there. You
Yeah.
can't, that's like the most disappointing feeling to me when I play up to a high note and it's just like kind of not there.
Yeah.
It has to be and we need to be able to dig in. We need to be able to, by we I mean me.
You and your guitar.
Yeah.
Does it have a name? Do you give your guitar a name?
I don't.
No.
Open to suggestions. So if I'm on the road right now, and I'm happy with these strings at home. I like Tomastics. Benedetto makes a great pair of strings too. So yeah, I just try to make use with what's available to me. But I do like 13s for the top 2 strings and then 12s.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things I want to ask. Feel free to edit this out. As a teacher,
Yes.
what are a couple of things that if your students could just get under their fingers or in their heads would really help them progress? Because a lot of people who are coming from, they can play and they know chords and stuff, and they want to start pushing harmony a little bit.
Asking for a friend, Dan.
Asking for a friend. What are some things that if they could just get hold of, that you think, and that you see regularly, you think, if all my students could just grab this, it would really help?
Yes. So I have 2 thoughts on that kind of immediately come to mind. First is actually kind of the opposite of your question. First is blues. The guitar, I really think of kind of an extension of, like, for me, I want to sing on it. I want it to, it's a unique instrument in that it can imitate the human voice. Not a lot of instruments can go. We get to be a human voice on an instrument. A piano can't. They have to do an approximation. So I've run into a lot of students who are very caught up in the mechanics of the instrument. I mean, we need that. And I think on the other side of that, we also need to stay connected with singing and blues. And blues is the root of jazz music, one of the roots of jazz music. And if we don't have that in there, it's not, it might lose its personality and its humanness. So for me, I'm always trying to get young people to check out more blues and to check out blues guitar, and always be thinking from a perspective of playing blues. Another is developing options. Then if we were talking about harmony, developing harmony, the fundamental kind of the basic chord progression in jazz music and in many types of popular music is the 2-5-1. So we have, in the key of F, for example, G minor 7, which is the 2 chord, C7, which is the 5 chord, and F major 7, which is the 1 chord. And those all come from the key of F major. Those are all diatonic to F major. As jazz musicians, the dominant chord, the C7, is our real,
meat and potatoes.
Yeah, it's our place where we get to add harmonic color and choices. It's kind of the place that we get to add color.
We're in the key of F, did you say?
Yes.
So C7 is 5?
C7 is 5. Yep, exactly. So we can start using extensions. We can totally just play in the key of F. That completely works. That was not in the key of F. That was F with a couple approach tones. So now we get to pick our dominant chord. We get to pick our harmony. There's options. We can play a C7 flat 9. With this chord comes 2 scale options that were not available to us when we were playing a natural 9.
Right.
Now we get what's called the altered scale. It gives us our extensions. It gives us a flat 9, a sharp 9, a sharp 11, and a sharp 5. And it sounds like this. That sound on this chord. That's that sound. So we get that now. We can, if you working on that scale, that becomes an option for you on your 5 chord. Suddenly, it goes from this lame example. Suddenly it goes to this. get that color. Another option for a scale that relates to our C7 flat 9 is diminished. This gives you still the flat 9 and the sharp 9, but you have a natural 5 and a natural 6. And so this sounds like this. And that's our diminished scale. We know it well. We hear it a lot. So that gives us this sound. That kind of sound. Lydian dominant is another option. We can.
I love that chord.
It's such a beautiful sound, right? So Lydian dominant is just your Mixolydian scale, but with a raised fourth. So suddenly now we get this sound. You get that raised fourth. So that's where that comes from. So on the dominant scale, I think options on dominant scales in 251s is the biggest place. The first kind of a big area of study.
Okay, so
Yeah.
You know when you look up at the sky and you see 13 billion stars,
yeah.
how do you pick the 5 to look at for the first 5 minutes? Because what just happened there is we escalated quickly.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, please don't say sorry. Dan is following. I'm sure Michael's following. Hayden's probably following. I'm like, there are some bridges over these. There's some bridges that I would require.
Sure.
Yeah.
To get,
And I
yeah.
guess I'm going to answer my own question. It's just, I guess that's simply learning the fretboard, learning your basic, starting with the major scale, learning your intervals, and just starting. There's no substitute, is there? That's what I'm driving at here.
There is no easy way through. You've just got to put the work in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And listening to a ton of records for me has helped, connect sounds with chord progressions. Like what sound is appropriate where. I've learned through listening to hundreds of hours of jazz records.
So one of the conversations that we had in the car was that because I learnt this stuff when I was 19. And learnt the intervals, learnt the melodic minor scale and the modes and the important ones. And so I learnt them, but I just had no context for them. I wasn't listening to jazz. It's and for years I'm like, how do I even apply this stuff? And it wasn't until relatively recently, 6 or 7 years ago, that Pat Martino came on, and all that harmony that I knew suddenly was like, I was hearing it.
You had a context.
There was a context for it, and that was a bridge for me, because after I heard that, then I started dipping the toe back in the water. It's like, oh, it's there. But sometimes that you do need those little doors to open to give you some sort of anchor for where that harmony is, so that you've got some sort of point of reference for it. Because up to that point, it just sounded like wrong notes. It's like I've got. Obviously, it sounded great, but I just had no idea of what on earth is happening
Not
there.
just wrong notes, Dan, wrong order as well.
Exactly. It was just a car crash. But yeah, so what was you saying? Wes Montgomery was your way in to that sort of extended harmony, because he's so lyrical as well with his phrasing is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going on from there, what were the sort of other places that were sort of opening your ears that you found gave context to all the harmony?
Yeah, so I started listening to a lot of Wes, and a lot of great guitar players did. Jimi Hendrix was obsessed with Wes.
Wow.
There's like this legend that Pat Metheny, by the time he was 6 years old, he had transcribed every Wes solo, like on all the records.
Sounds about right.
That's right. I think Pat watches this on Saturday nights, by the way. Hi, Pat.
You know, Wes Montgomery, I think, really has been one of the biggest teachers. His records have you know, taught so much to so many musicians. So I was listening to a lot of Wes. I was also listening to a lot of Grant Green. And Grant is wonderful for me in terms of, for starters, you can hear one note of him. His tone is so distinguishable. There's like this cut, this bite to it. You just know it's him immediately. And so for me, coming from a place where I had listened to a ton of blues, Grant was really a great way for me to start listening to jazz too, because he was from St. Louis and grew up on the gospel scene, and there's so much gospel in his guitar playing and some bebop. So for me, it was like listening to him. There's so much. It's like I get this on an intuitive level, and then there's some bebop, which I don't get yet, but I love how it sounds.
Yeah. Okay.
Kenny Burrell, same thing. His playing is so much blues and bebop, and so for me, just getting to hear how these incredible musicians play bebop in their playing, in what they learned.
Sure.
In Joe Pass as well. I've studied.
Yeah. So, okay, everyone's going to go and have a listen to one Wes Montgomery album.
Yes, Smoking at the Half Note.
Smoking at the Half Note. Okay, fantastic. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Jocelyn's gonna play a song or two for us, I hope, when we stop talking. But just before we get into that, you mentioned that when you perform, you also have a microphone on the guitar itself, not just the amp, right?
I do. When I record, there's a lot of the acoustic sound that I want to also be able to include in my sound on recordings. So even just like a little bit of the sound of the fingers on the strings, just
we'll
that
try
organicness.
And do that with Jocelyn's guidance. We'll try and make sure that happens.
Yeah. Yes.
I can't wait. What do we need to promote? So we can't promote the dates because they're going to be done by the time
Right.
You had a record out relatively recently?
Yeah, I have one that came out less than a month ago.
Yeah.
So that's my third album. It's actually, guitar players will love it. I recorded a 2-guitar record with a rhythm section. So it's me and my teacher, Randy.
Oh,
awesome.
fantastic.
And what's it called?
It's called Sonic Bouquet.
Okay, Sonic Bouquet. Please
Yeah.
check it out.
Yes.
And do that. And anything else? So you said you were always doing dates, so people just need to go to your website and check out where you're playing.
Yeah. 2024 is going to be pretty bananas for me. So
And all over the world.
I'll be all over the place. Yeah.
So great.
Very exciting.
Thank you so much. This has just been an absolute treat. So over the moon for you, and to see how things are going. It's so great to see you out there doing it, and to see and hear you do proper jazz. It's there's a no compromise approach to playing jazz, and it's just so great to see you do your thing. Thank you so much for coming in, mate. It's been an absolute blast.
Thank you. We've barely scratched the surface. We could talk for hours, but I think perhaps we will let Jocelyn's playing and singing do the talking from here on in.
Amazing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited about this, so thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Anytime you're in the UK, please stop in.
The coffee's always on. Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. If you have already subscribed, start another account and subscribe again. Thanks to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed t-shirts and hats and things. And also massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon.
Indeed, there are some links in the description below. Actually, there aren't because there's no pedals today. But please check out jocelyngould.com as well. And with that, we bid you adieu.
The years, they came and went, and each season was new. But I just haven't managed to forget you. I often find you on my mind. I guess I just couldn't see. I wonder if you've managed to forget me. There's a reason why we went our own way. After so many days, why can't I just get you off my mind? We used to have so much fun, but other times we didn't. But I just haven't managed to forget you. There's a reason why we went our own ways. After so many days, why can't I just get you off my mind? We used to have so much fun, and other times we fuss, and I keep finding myself wondering if you found someone to hold on to, 'cause I just haven't managed to forget you.